Okay. Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good night. I know we have lots of people tuning in from all different time zones. We are live streaming today with Akash, Managing Director of Australia and New Zealand for Tupperware. We're going out on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. So tune in where you can. I'm super excited about today. I've been lucky enough to work with Akash across two iconic businesses at my time in Overdose, and was thrilled when he took the role of MD at Tupperware. Firstly, big welcome to you, Akash. Thank you for taking time out of what's generally our busiest time of the year. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Pleasure to catch up with you today.
Yeah, great. Now, I usually always just like to start with, give me a little bit of information about you, your background, how you got started, how you've ended up at Tupperware. I know it's an interesting story, and I know you're one of the most well-respected managing directors in corporate Australia. So I'm super keen to hear how you got to where you got to.
Great. I've probably had a really mixed journey, getting to my current management role. Laura, I started obviously, with a very heavy finance background. So my earlier roles were a mix of private equity businesses, but also a lot of corporate multinationals. And the experience between the private equity world and the corporate world, I think, has held me in good stead. One of my earliest roles was with Abbott Pharmaceuticals. So you guys might have heard of them. They've been obviously quite prominent during the COVID journey with all their tests, etc.
They've been my client for the last, I think, 4 years. So we love the guys at Abbott.
Yeah, so I was with a private equity business who Abbott acquired, and that's how I started my journey with Abbott. I worked in their finance team in their Abbott Nutrition division, so we used to sell, baby powders like Pediasure or products like Ensure into hospitals. So really interesting business. Got some really strong exposure also about selling. So Abbott's a really, really strong business where they encourage people from head office to actually go out and sell. So you actually learn how the product's being sold in the market. So for me as a finance person, that was a great experience, being able to go sell in pharmacies, hospitals, GPs, just learning the landscape in a very different fashion. And from there, I had a really strong journey for about 3 years within Abbott. And then I made a move to Atkins Nutritionals, which was another private equity company that was owned by North Castle Partners out of the US. So Atkins, again, a really strong diet brand, strong journey from a health and wellness point of view. And that's, you will see during my career, I've tried to stay around health and wellness a lot. Again, really fun role, Australia, New Zealand, a medium-sized business, but run only with 3 people, 2 people in New Zealand, 1 in Australia. I was the only Australian employee, but a really, really good journey. We used to sell bars and shakes into Woolies, Coles, the Costco's. And typically with the private equity, our journey is to get the company to sell. And that is what we achieved. So, basically got the company to sell, got that outcome, and then made a very interesting move to Woolworths. So moved to Woolworths in their corporate property division, and in a quite a senior finance role, but it was also a very commercial role, where my role, I think, had a lot of input across a number of projects across sustainability, across engineering, but also just driving some strategy of acquisitions during my time at Woolies. So did Woolies for about 4 years. Fantastic experience. Amazingly big numbers that you don't experience in normal businesses. I always share with people, and I think it's pretty common knowledge, but electricity bill at Woolies is $700-800 million annually. Just going through that journey was really good. And then I, again, while I was at Woolies, got approached by the team at North Castle Partners, so the same private equity I'd worked with at Atkins, because they had acquired the Jenny Craig and Curves businesses in Melbourne. So back in late 2015, made the move from Woolworths over to Jenny Craig and Curves. Two very distinct businesses. Curves, fully franchised business. Jenny Craig, a fully company-owned business. About 120 retail stores for Jenny Craig and about 200 gyms for Curves. Back end was the same across both, so the same MD, same finance, same IT, same HR, but you pretty much had very different marketing teams and very different selling teams. So, fantastic experience there. And obviously, I met yourself at Jenny Craig during my time there. COVID had accelerated the e-commerce journey at Jenny Craig, which, we launched on Shopify, some, great results there during that time. But yeah, with both businesses, again, my objective at both those businesses was to get both businesses to sell. We completed the Curve sale early in 2019, and we were able to complete, I think, Jenny Craig in late 2019 as well. Jenny Craig was sold to another private equity business called HIG based out of Miami. I had then continued to stay on till middle of 2021. And in about 3 or 4 days time, I'm going to be hitting 4 months at Tupperware. So relatively new at Tupperware, but my last 2 roles or 3 roles have been more, in the managing director space, but with a very solid finance background, I think from the past.
Yeah. And do you find that finance background, because I don't have a finance background, it wasn't my strong suit of excelling at university, the finance subjects, but, moving from that really heavy finance background into leading teams and being a managing director, I could imagine it's quite a different experience. I've seen a little bit of it firsthand working together with you as a client agency relationship, but what's your style of leadership and how do you build out your teams? And I think what's interesting for you, particularly with Jenny Craig and I know with Tupperware, is the sales model and bringing in digital and direct commerce has been somewhat, jarring at times for the businesses because of the sales consultant model and the in-store experience that Jenny Craig consultants gave, and same with Tupperware with the party system and the consultants. So I'm interested to hear how you've handled that and what your approach is.
Yeah, great. I think from a leadership standpoint, I definitely feel, the finance background helps as more and more businesses become data driven. Both of my previous businesses, very traditional businesses, talking, one of the, I guess, Jenny Craig, 30, 40 plus years in the country. And then, with Tupperware, you're talking about a business which is about 60 plus years in the country. So, data-driven business leaders, I think, are in relatively strong demand, and I think the finance background definitely helps in that space, where businesses are seeking decision making, not so much on gut feel, but more on data and how analytics is driving that. For me, yeah, absolutely. I think, marketing has been probably my biggest learning trajectory coming from a finance background. So in my previous role, I probably spent an inordinate amount of time going through marketing, learning, developing, educating, going through e-commerce courses. I did about 3 courses in the last 4 years. So I think as a leader, I think, you always have to continuously learn to develop, adapt. And in that space, I think definitely try to do that over my journey, just to make sure the businesses that I'm going to, or the journeys that I'm on, I'm educating myself to make sure I can lead and interact with my teams as strongly as possible as I can. Also, just making sure you've got the right team around you is a big tick. So you need that to drive the right outcomes. So, again, as we've gone more and more into the digital space, you would be aware, in my previous business, we'd invested a lot in that space. And, we're on a similar journey at Tupperware, where, we see e-commerce and digital becoming more and more mainstream within the business, which has been really good, not only for the business. But we've, like you said, we've got consultants, we've got different partners within our business, and as that e-commerce and digital journey evolves and becomes more mainstream, it is bringing all the consultants at Jenny Craig and all the consultants at Tupperware along that journey to see that, so they can appreciate the value that is coming through there. And the results speak for themselves. The more business they see, the happier they are, and that's why everyone comes to work, is to win.
And I think that's when we got the opportunity to work with Tupperware, that was the thing that I was most excited about. Was there's not very many chances in e-commerce that you get to work with a 60-year-old brand that has never sold direct to a consumer in an online environment. In 2021 or 2020 at the time, that's a very unusual thing to occur. And I think the initial fear that was felt by the sales consultants was quickly, alleviated by the fact that this is only going to amplify your business, your personal business, and the opportunity to funnel, particularly with the model and the way we do it. I think it works beautifully for them, and it helps give them that comfort that we're growing their business along with the brand and the overall relationship that customers have. Obviously, COVID played a big part in the fact that parties couldn't occur for so long. But yeah, I mean, my mum's got her original Tupperware from the 70s. So it was a dream come true, really, to be able to do it, and watching the results and watching people interact with the brand digitally but still have the engagement with the consultants, I think has been a win-win for the digital journey. In terms of your team structure, because you touched on it around gearing more digital talent and commerce talent, and I know we're going through this big great resignation, and the talent pool, I've never seen it more competitive and fierce and in demand as what it is at the moment. And it's, I think, a challenge. I have conversations with clients about it all the time. It's something I'm hyper focused on within our business. How are you going about that recruitment, finding the right people, having those right people around you, and then the retention strategies you have at the business to keep that core talent within the Tupperware environment?
Yeah, no, really good question. And yeah, absolutely top of mind, I think, for every leader, I think at this point in time. I think for me, the first key piece is, identifying the right talent that we've already got within the business. And you spoke about that retention piece. So, we're absolutely trying to work through that journey to make sure, firstly, we have a clear plan of where we want to go from an e-commerce and digital point of view, because that then gives the existing team some confidence and some direction as to where the business is heading towards. And then also assigning some clear roles to the people within the business who we see as top talent, and trying to retain them by communicating, the journey and building that excitement as to where they want to go, and absolutely making sure that they want to be part of that journey, that not only is looking 1 or 2 years down the track, it has a very clear longevity and growth plan associated with that channel. And I think once those foundations are in place, then we're absolutely, looking for the right talent, not only from a technical standpoint, but also from a cultural fit point of view, to come in with a business. We're a small, lean, mean machine at Tupperware, so we absolutely very, very careful whom we bring into the business, and someone who can appreciate the history that the business has, but also then can look forward to say, yes, I can see the vision that the company has, and I can see myself being part of that journey. I think is really important. But you're absolutely right. I think once we get the foundations and we get the existing team in place in the right roles, then we absolutely amplify that by going external and hiring more talent to accelerate that journey, I guess.
Yeah, I think people would be genuinely surprised to see how lean and mean Tupperware does run. I think the expectation that you would have a much larger team to work with. It's very close. And I know the way we work with you guys, it's just very direct with pretty much everybody involved, which we love because it fits with kind of the methodology of how we execute with clients. But it is surprising to see it's not a team of sort of, 10, 15 in the digital team or even the marketing team. Do you guys have the opportunity for staff members or for secondments, being a global brand, from other offices and things like that? Because I know it's something that we're looking to start to explore as the world opens back up, and our global footprint has grown significantly during COVID. That, I'd be interested to understand how you look to do that, or if that's an option for your team members globally.
For sure. One of our most senior roles at the moment, which is our national sales director, Sam, she is basically someone who's been, I think, with the business overall now 10 years, but for the last 3 years, she moved from South Africa to Australia. So she was doing a similar role, had, fantastic results and outcomes behind her. She, from an individual point of view, was looking for to go and test herself in a different country. And Australia, I think about 3 years ago, was going through a little bit of a transitional phase where we thought, that skill set would fit in really well. And I think it's been a fantastic win-win for both parties. So yeah, absolutely. I think, from the benefit of being a multinational or a global organization is, if we do identify talent, and if we do identify the opportunity in a relevant market where they can definitely add value, I think it's a really good option to consider for any company out there. So, but yeah, I have seen some strong successes with that, not only at Tupperware, but just in some of my previous roles as well.
And let's talk about Tupperware as a brand a little bit more, because I've been lucky enough to sort of have exposure about some of the future plans and strategies you're looking to put in place. But I suppose, what are your core 3 focuses for the next 1 to 2 years as a business, as a brand? And I'm particularly interested in that customer journey and the relationship with customers, both, I know how loyal the customer base is, but attracting new customers and a younger demographic as they're coming up and living a different life. I'd really love to hear what some of the core focuses of the business are around that.
For sure. We I think from a global standpoint, we've communicated, some key strategies that we're going after. So one being, the Tupperware business model has always been a very direct selling business model. And that is something, we feel that is going to be very central as the business moves forward. But I think what we're also looking to do is build an omni-channel presence to augment that direct sales channel. So, e-commerce comes into play there really, really strongly because, we're reaching out directly to consumers, and that is bringing in more and more customers for our direct sales team to be able to go and approach. And then, in various other countries, Tupperware has looked at retail options. They've looked at B2B options where they might partner with a significant retailer on loyalty, and a whole different bunch of ideas there. So I think, one of the main bits there being, while the company looks to evolve its omni-channel presence, it is also looking to make sure that the core of the business, which is the direct selling business, remains central and also remains very, I guess, me as a new leader coming in is making sure I'm exploring all the other channels, but I'm also making sure I'm taking the time to, develop and keep our core channel growing, which is where our expertise sits. So that's very central, I think, as we move forward. The second thing that we're driving more and more, very, very focused on, is service. And that's not only service to customers, but also service to our direct sales team or our internal partners as well, because again, probably going back to e-commerce and digital, the consumer expectations on customer service are evolving at a very fast rate, and there's very high expectations of turnaround times, or in terms of how brands are viewed from an overall structure point of view, but also from a repeat purchase point of view. depending on how customer service is coming through. So that is a really key focus for us, is to make sure not only are we servicing our internal clients to the best of our capability, but we're also making a significant effort to drive that service capacity to our end consumers as well. And then the last piece maybe just ties back a little bit into the first piece of omnichannel, but allowing our customers to interact when they want with us and whichever form they want to do with us as well. We might have had a certain push towards a certain direction in the past, but I think more and more companies globally, if you want to become a true omnichannel operator, you're very much looking to open that funnel up, where you're giving the consumer the flexibility to say, today I want to interact this way and I'm going to do it at this particular time. Or tomorrow I want to wake up at 3 a.m. and make an e-commerce purchase. The companies or the businesses have to work through that journey where we are no longer looking to dictate that customer flow. We're letting the consumer dictate how they would choose to interact with us.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest change that a lot of mature businesses have had to get their head around, is that the consumer needs to hold the power, and not every consumer has the same purchasing intent or channel choice as what you may have assumed previously. And I think what's interesting when you talk about channels is the way you guys have methodically gone to look at getting to that omni stage and not trying to do everything simultaneously at the same time. Because as you enter a new channel or you add another channel to your options, if you don't have the infrastructure in place, the expertise, the customer service prowess that can all differ for each channel, it's going to be a really hard slog to get it right. And a failed channel launch can be pretty damaging in terms of win back of clients or that trust level. So I think the tentative steps from an e-commerce perspective have been really intelligent in terms of the way you've scaled it since launching. Has been, intelligent to say the least, because the temptation can always be there. And I see it with other brands, is let's go everywhere. We're selling here. We're doing B2B. We're doing D2C online. We're doing direct selling the same way we've always done. But something always falls behind if you don't have the right structures in place. So I definitely think that Tupperware have done that. In terms of the product, and when you're dealing with a product that's been in the market in Australia for 60 years, has a loyal following, a lot of it is plastics based. What's the brand, vision for how you continue that quality? I know when we were first discussing options with Tupperware, that lifetime guarantee thing with people rolling up with trailers of Tupperware to get lids replaced because they'd had it their whole life. How does that fit in 2021 and beyond as a brand, and keeping, I suppose, core to those values, but evolving with changing, perceptions and wants of consumers?
Yeah, no, great question. And I think, product innovation, Laura, is just going to be a very critical aspect of the Tupperware business. So our customers demand high quality products, and they also demand continuous innovation to be able to see how Tupperware is evolving a little bit ahead of the market on certain products coming in. Absolutely, when you talk about plastic, sustainability is top of mind for every customer, and it's definitely top of mind for Tupperware as we're moving forward as well. There's a number of exciting products that we've got where we're able to use recycled plastics to make the products, and we're also entering into some really exciting ventures. So our American business has just recently partnered with national parks, where we're able to drive Eco Plus bottles, and just trying to work out also very exciting programs. Again, another one I can think of in the US where if somebody's going to a Burger King, they are able to get a takeaway container which is supplied by Tupperware. And it's one of those BYO coffee schemes. So you basically get the container, They have a technology called loop technology, whereby the customer is able to drop that off, the container gets cleaned off, and then it's available for you when you go again
Wow.
to Burger King as well. So it's a small deposit scheme, but absolutely there's a mountain of work being done to make sure, from a sustainability point of view, we are driving innovation and we're driving that clarity in the consumer's mind to say, not only are we going to continue to drive high quality products as we move forward, we're also, keeping the environment and sustainability in our mind as we're coming up with those. And then, again, on the other side of the journey is, if there are products coming back to us, what are we doing with those products to make sure that we're recycling them efficiently, and making sure, I guess our mark on the environment is minimized in that regard. And then, obviously you can appreciate, our plastics are reusable, and, obviously that is something we're not, if you look at supermarkets, etc., they're moving away from single-use plastics. And that's where, again, Tupperware can fill a really strong void in the market, is to make sure that we're, educating the customer on the benefits of using Tupperware.
Yeah, I definitely think the quality and the product investment is something that will continue to set you apart from other players in the market, is because it lasts forever. And I think what a lot of people, and what I learned about getting involved, was the food sustainability side of things. So the lack of wastage, the storage lifetime of products. If you set your fridge up, and I follow you guys on the gram, it's amazing what people can do. And I want to get my pantry done one day when I'm finished renovating and doing everything else. But I think there's so many different core brand values that you can pull from to connect with customers. And I think particularly the newer ones, where you guys have already thought well ahead to make sure that that's a pertinent part of what you're doing. With the product development team, and we've talked about the sales consultants. So how many sales consultants are there in Australia roughly currently?
We'd be very close to about 10,000 consultants across Australia.
Yeah. And have you seen that fluctuate up and down during the pandemic, or is it starting to grow? How did that affect things?
Yeah, I think from the pandemic point of view, it was actually a positive period from a consultant growth point of view, because people were limited, I guess a little bit from a movement point of view. And I think, in partnership with Overdose, we'd obviously launched this online platform. So people were actually able to use that time and interact online with Tupperware and do a lot of those events and parties online. So, it definitely provided a whole lot of, I guess, consultants that opportunity to go out and gain that supplementary income during the pandemic, or go out and reach out to their consumers and go through that journey. So and then the other factor, I think that really benefited Tupperware during that time was people's behaviors during the pandemic changed to where a lot of people were cooking at home. And, you then, again, from a storage point of view or from a cookware point of view, there was a significant demand in market in that regard. So I think that, again, provided some really strong impetus to consultants, and I guess to that sales force to, not only grow their business, but add to that sales force number as well. So I overall, I just think, that momentum's been really good for the business, and that is something, now we're looking to leverage as we move forward, and, as we come out of the pandemic as well, just making sure we are evolving our messaging to make sure, we're effectively communicating to the customers what are new products that they might be able to use, which are outside the home or on the go, because more people are heading out. So yeah, that's a big part for us, is making sure the messaging aligns with the times.
Yeah, brilliant. And so I suppose as we wrap up, my final question is going to be, we get to December, end of the year. By then you have nearly had half a year at Tupperware, but how do you want to finish 2021, and what's the big goal for 2022 for the business, whether it's digitally or more broadly speaking? What's a win for the end of the year, and what's the big goal for next year?
I think for the end of the year, I mean, we're a multinational corporate, Laura, so we obviously have some strong targets, and we're an American-owned business. So, for us, December is the year end. So I think a big tick for us would be, making sure we're hitting the numbers that we committed to from an organization point of view. But also, we recently launched some very exciting initiatives internally. We call them Tupwell Days, whereby, associates typically on a Friday, we are trying to do no meeting Fridays. And, one of the other initiatives we're trying to do, which I think is a great initiative, is, giving all employees 5 days off between the 27th and the 31st, which the company's funding. But I think, another take for me personally, ending 2021 would be, it has been a difficult year for people, typically in the local team with the pandemic. Just making sure we appreciate everyone's efforts during the year, and make sure from an organization point of view, we're putting, we're absolutely a numbers focused organization, but we're also putting our people forward and thinking positively and thanking them towards the end of the year for all their efforts, and giving them that much needed break so they can come back refreshed to attack 2022. Because you're right, I guess I'm coming up to 6 months, and we've got some really strong plans for 2022 on what we want to achieve. 2022 for me, one of the big things we're looking to drive, and you'd be aware, is we have a very strong and successful loyalty program that we run on our website. In 12 months, I think it's been one of the fastest growing loyalty membership programs within the country, which has been fantastic. So what we're looking to do, I think, in 2022 is absolutely look to elevate that loyalty program to a whole new level. It is coming up to 12 months. We want to give that a little bit of a refresh, and really drive, the consumer, I guess, responsiveness to it, but also just driving some significant, I guess, benefits for those members who are repeat purchasers with us, and attracting new loyalty members. So, for us in 2022, we really want to build on some of the successes we've done in 2021. Our website, absolutely, again, is something we watch regularly, and again, something we want to evolve a little bit more as we head into the new year. But from a loyalty and digital point of view, we want to drive those, and then those pillars that I spoke to you about from an omnichannel perspective, just laying some foundations for that as we move forward would be the three key priorities as we look forward to 2022.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is, because you didn't have the transactional digital data of long history of that, going into 2022, we're going to have a lot more of that to utilize and inform our decisions. We've actually had a question come through. So it was great to hear how Tupperware has addressed sustainability and positioned itself using marketing to appeal to younger consumers. As these consumers are increasingly invested in companies' environmental and social initiatives, how has Tupperware addressed the issue of diversity and inclusion as a business? Great question.
Great question. And, again, really top of mind. First up, I think, we do have a division, and I'm hoping I will remember. It's the acronym is DIEC, but it's a Diversity, Inclusion, Environmental Committee. So we've got someone within Tupperware who's extremely focused on the diversity and inclusion, not only from an employee standpoint and from a sustainability standpoint as well, but I think also just from a consumer standpoint as well. How do we make the products more and more accessible, but also from a marketing standpoint, how do we communicate that to a wider group? When I started with the business, I genuinely had a feeling that our typical customer would be a little bit more, I would say, maybe in the 40 to 55 category. But something I've come to learn is our customer here is very much a younger customer. They're more in the 25 to 40 category. And, again, something, we're absolutely looking to do in that space is, be able to talk to a wider group. And also from a product standpoint, we we typically are associated with more women, making those purchases. But again, how are we interacting and how are we making, the messaging go to, any men who are making that decision or any men who are interested in similar products. So absolutely, diversity, inclusion, top of mind internally from an employee point of view, and also making sure from a consumer point of view, we're absolutely driving that more and more.
Yeah, great. Well, I think we'll wrap up there. I've really appreciated your time, especially now I know it's no meeting Friday, but this doesn't really classify as a meeting. I love that idea. We've been trying to bring it in, but it never flies. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I've really loved chatting with you. I've always been passionate about the brand. It's an absolute privilege that we get to work together. And I hope you have an amazing Christmas, and we'll look forward to hopefully kicking more goals in 2022.
Brilliant. Thank you, Laura. Really appreciate your time today and great chatting to you. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Take care. Thanks, Akash.